Sayadaw will continue to talk on the remaining 3 factors that will conduce to the sharpening of the controlling faculties.
Di gumyurega kunukumiyao indiri thejawa kayeja jiwiteja anabekata ubathabeti mimi ko bo ne atet po ma bo le taniya phyin le be ko ne atet ko nene li ma ngai kwet nya ta yin mashi be ne sun sun sa sa a thwa me lo di lo so lo ba le.
The 7th factor is the quality of mind that is able to practice through the exertion of heroic effort, courageous effort, whereby the mind is not at all considerately attached to the body or to life. In other words, one is willing to sacrifice one's body and life in order to continue the practice uninterrupted.
Ko ma nge ya bu sora ga ro mimi khana ko yi ha ma sin che ma tan shin ba ma a ko siya ma kaung ne ani ne bo li a pyin pa a tet me a puat kaung ji lo di lo be thin ya me de Dhamma le be ma nge ma o takae lo a kaung lo thin ni lo shi yin nge ni u ma.
In order to cut down this sort of considerate attachment to the body, it would be very useful to look upon the body as though it were an external carcass. There's nothing good in it, but this mass of pain, this mass of disgusting things in the body. If one were to think of the body as something which is beautiful and priceless, then it would be difficult to meditate with that quality of courageous effort.
At that point, mimi a josi wa ko ma lo la de yandu lo thabo tha ya me de yandu ha mimi a josi wa ma lo la de pukko ko a nge ni le be tu twe le be jo ma shi ko ma le be sin yin ma be da lo be tu yut de nan de khaw de a tet kale shi ni lo yut da nan da de ha a mye ma pya shin tan ni da be myin lai cha lai na lai sa lai thi lai ti lai soda ba di tet tet kale ka thaind pe ni da yut tet ka le be yut ko thaind pe ni da nan tet ka le nan ko thaind pe ni da tu lo shin tan ni de de yue ai di yut na shi tha de pukko ma a mye ran sin ye ni da be ku lu de jung twe ni ya da ha yut di na ni shi ni lo di sin ye di ne twe ya da be takae lo da yut na ma shi bu so lo shi ye di sin ye di be jung wa lai ma le ai di sin ye di ka shi bwa paung mya swa le be jung ke bi yaku le be jung ni da be naung le be bwa di bo ma a pyit ma myin ne a wai sa ne tahna bo li a mai da ne a maung da shi ni de de yue kan ni pyut bi do ai di kan ma da kha bwa di twa yaw ma a saung nai di do di shin tan ne a tet kale shi ni lo tu jaw yut na ni ya le shin tan ni do yut na ne sat de sin ye di ha Mimi a Josie wa Malula, Yandulo, Soravoli, either the water naima at the Poma Mangia Papa.
One's life should also be regarded as one's enemy. If there is a sworn, if you have a sworn enemy, and you start to give him the benefit of the doubt, have a weak point, have a weakness towards him, then you are looking for trouble. That enemy is just waiting for the chance to cut you down, to cause you ruin and destruction. So too, the life that is to be found in physical phenomenon and mental phenomenon, keep the mind and matter going, and as long as there is mind and matter, we are always confronted with suffering, all sorts of suffering. There is life, there is this life force in material phenomena, and a similar life force in mental phenomena that keeps the vitality of mind and matter going. And this has occurred since time immemorial, in past lives. It is through this same life force, this life to be found in mind and matter, that we have gone through the whole spectrum of samsara, whirling round and round and round without an end, caught in an endless cycle, in a vicious cycle. It is because of the presence of this mind and matter that we have to go through so much suffering. And it is because of this life that has continued to propel this mind and matter through this endless sea of samsara. So we can look at life as an enemy, since it has caused so much suffering. Without mind and matter, where can you find suffering? If one is able to look at life in that way, as an enemy, then one will not have any sort of considerate attachment to it.
Tizigaya Solochi let we Chintonia the Dribatandia ha the show a twitch or a bocumia, domo tata a nere bocumia, a pity time. Penevia, Didia leve yoga pity lang, don't pony rave, the lang, don't pony it. A GMS will be sure a bit.
Well, some people, on hearing this, people with little faith, or people with a very critical mind, may start to criticize this teaching. They might start to accuse Satipatthana meditation as a path that leads to disease, to illness, a path that leads to death.
Mangara Dikanaguya အသက်ရှင်တဲ့အခါမှာတော့လောကအလိုက်ပေါ့လေအသုံးကျတယ်လို့ဆိုပေမဲ့လို့တည်တဲ့အခါကျတော့ဘာမှအသုံးမကျတော့ဘူးပြစ်လိုက်ရတာပဲကွဲတာရှာရတဲ့ပစ္စည်းများကွဲလွယ်တဲ့ပစ္စည်းများမကွဲခင်မပြည့်စည်ခင်တော့အသုံးချရတယ်ကွဲပြီးပြည့်စည်ပြီးမှဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဘာမှအသုံးချလို့မဖြစ်တော့ဘူးအဲ့တော့ခုခန္ဓာကိုယ်ရထားတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များအရွယ်လည်းကောင်းသေးတယ်ကျမ်းမာရေးလည်းရတယ်အရွယ်လွန်သွားပြီမဲ့လို့တရားထုံနိုင်လောက်အောင်ကျမ်းမာရေးရတယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဒီခန္ဓာကိုယ်ကြီးအာမခံချက်မရှိပုံတွေကိုနားလည်ပြီးတော့ဒီခန္ဓာကိုယ်ကြီးတွေကအချိန်မီပေါ့လေအနှစ်သာရတွေထုတ်ယူထားမိဖို့အတွက်ကတော့သိအရေးကြီးတယ်
In fact, this body of ours, although it may be very useful as long as we are alive on this planet, it is completely useless when one dies. What use can you make of a corpse? It's like a very fragile and delicate receptacle which may have much utility as long as it is intact. But the moment it drops on the floor and breaks into pieces, what has happened to its utility? Of what use will be shattered pieces of pottery? So right now, we have this good fortune to be able to come to this retreat, to be able to strive and practice Satipatthana meditation. Our bodies are in good health, and many of you are at a good age level. There is much strength in your body. You are young and robust. And yet there are other people here who may not be so young, but still enjoy the fortune and blessing of good health. Let all of us make use of this wonderful opportunity to extract the essence of our bodies, to extract the optimum utility from our body before it is too late, before it is turned into a useless corpse.
ခန္ဓာကိုယ်ကြီးကတနည်းအားဖြင့်အမိုက်ပုံကြီးနဲ့လည်းတူတယ်လူတွေအသုံးမဝင်နဲ့ပစ္စည်းအမျိုးမျိုးတွေပေါ့လေတဏှာရသွားပြီးတော့ပုံရတာကြာတော့အဲ့ဒီပုံကြီးဟာအကြီးဖြစ်လာတာဒီထဲမှာပစ္စည်းတွေအစုံပဲအဲ့ဒီမိုက်ပုံကြီးကိုအမြင်အမြင်မရှိတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များအသုံးမချတတ်လို့ရှိရင်မြေဩဇာလောက်ပဲဖြစ်တယ်အမြင်အမြင်ရှိတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များတော့အဲ့ဒီမိုက်ပုံကြီးတွေကအတူအစပစ္စည်းလေးတွေအများကြီးပဲတန်တူတန်စားတွေအများကြီးပါပဲဒီတွေကတန်ကြောင်းတွေဖန်ခွက်တွေပေါ့လေဒီမှာအဲ့ဒီပစ္စည်းတွေထုတ်ယူပြီးတော့တန့်စင်အောင်လုပ်ပြီးလူသုံးပစ္စည်းတွေပြန်ထုတ်တယ်မိုက်ပုံကြီးတွေကရွှေထုတ်တဲ့နီးဆိုတာပေါ့လေဒီမှာအဲ့ဒါလို့ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဟိုကမြေဩဇာလည်းပဲမလျော့ဘူးမြေဩဇာအတွက်လည်းပဲအကျိုးများဒီတဲကအသုံးပြုလို့ဖြစ်နိုင်တဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေကိုလည်းပဲထုတ်ပြီးတော့မြုပ်တူရပေါင်းစပ်ပြီးတော့တန့်စင်ပြီးတော့လူသုံးပစ္စည်းတွေထုတ်တော့တချို့ဒီဟာနဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ပစ္စည်းချမ်းသာတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေလောကကမ္ဘာမှာရှိတယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်စေယုံကြီးတွေလည်းအကြီးကြီးတည်ထားတယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်
The body can also be looked upon as a rubbish heap, a rubbish dump. We can look at the simile of a rubbish dump. To people who are not innovative and creative, they don't find much use for a rubbish heap, for a heap of rubbish. The most they can do is to take that, just to take those stuff which can help to create a compost heap and get some manure from it. And the rest of the items in the rubbish heap just thrown away, wasted. But there are others who are innovative, inventive, and creative. They understand the process of recycling. The technology of recycling can be very powerful and very useful. There are many things that can be recycled, which can be found in that rubbish heap. And although these things may be dirty and smelly when they are in the rubbish heap, but if they are taken out and treated accordingly, they can be recycled into excellent items for reuse, reconsumption in society. In fact, there are many stories of such inventive people who have made millions out of this recycling business. This, in fact, is the way of making gold from rubbish.
Kanago mai bong yiri thau ya me athong we pho dan le pisi de aro acha mhot pa bu. Shi u swa ko mu lo mu de sin je si de tila anit tara.တရားမှာတဆင့်ဆက်ပြီးတော့အခုလိုသတိပဋ္ဌာန်အစစ်မြင့်တဲ့တရားတွေအားထုတ်ပြီးတော့တတ္တဝိရိယတတိသမารိပညာပေါ့လေဒီတရားတွေထက်တဲ့တန်တာအာကောင်းအားပြည့်သွားတဲ့အထီပေါ့လေထုတ်ယူဖို့ပါပဲအဲ့ဒါတရားမှာမိမိအတွက်တကယ်စိတ်ချရတဲ့အနှစ်သာရတွေပါ
For this rubbish heap, which we call our body, we can still extract gold from it. And one form of gold is sila, the purity of conduct, the ability to tame and civilize one's speech and actions. A step further than that is the extraction of faith, mindfulness, effort, concentration, and wisdom from the body. Through the practice of Satipatthana meditation, these factors, these jewels, priceless gems of mindfulness, of faith, of effort, mindfulness, concentration and wisdom can be extracted. And if a person is able to do that, we can say that he has extracted the optimum utility from the rubbish heap called his body.
အဲ့ဒီလိုအခြေအနေကိုနားလည်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များဟာဘယ်ရွယ်မှာဒီအနှစ်သာရတွေခန္ဓာကိုယ်အမှိုက်ပုံကြီးရဲ့အနှစ်သာရတွေထုတ်ယူလို့ကောင်းတယ်လို့ဆိုတော့ပထမအရွယ်အကောင်းဆုံးပဲဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုတော့ပထမအရွယ်က တွေးတာတွေကလည်းပဲခန္ဓာကိုယ်ထဲမှာသွားလာမြတ်တာကျမ်းမာရေးတွေကလည်းရတယ်အင်အားတွေကလည်းပြည့်နေတယ်စစရာစိတ်တက်ကြွနဲ့ဆောင်းလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်မိမိရွေထားတဲ့ကိစ္စမြန်မြန်ထမြောက်တတ်တယ်ဒါကြောင့်ပထမရွေအကောင်းဆုံးပဲ
If asked which is the best age to extract this essence from the body, this optimum utility from the rubbish heap, we can say that youth, the youthful age, is a very good time to make this extraction. When one is young and robust, we have a lot of energy which can be properly harnessed to make this extraction as effective as possible.
ဒီနေ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့စัจ ကြောင်းလေးတစ်ခုဘုန်းကြီးပြောပြရစီတာဝေကလည်းပဲဖြစ်စိတ်အားလည်းပဲတိတ်ကြွကြီးအတွက်ပေါ့လေဘုရားလက်ထက်ကရှင်ရထပါဠခေါ်တဲ့တထေသယဟန်တစ်ပါးရှိပါတယ်သူဟာပထမအရွယ်ပါပဲပစ္စည်းလည်းချမ်းသာပါတယ်ဆွေမျိုးလည်းပဲကြီးပါတယ်အရွယ်ကလည်းပဲကောင်းတယ်ကျမ်းမာရေးလည်းရကာမဂုဏ်ချမ်းသာနဲ့နေမယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အမနာကိုချမ်းသာသာနဲ့နေနိုင်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တယောက်ပါပဲအဲ့ဒါလိုယဟန်ဖြစ်တဲ့ဘုရင်တူရဲ့ဥယျာဉ်မှာပေါ့လေနေ့အခါသတင်းသုံးနေတော့ဘုရင်ကချင်းကပ်ပြီးတော့မေးတယ်အရှင်ဘုရားငယ်ငယ်ရွယ်လေးပဲကာမဂုဏ်နဲ့နေနိုင်တဲ့အရွယ်ပဲတဲ့မိဘတွေလည်းပဲပစ္စည်းချမ်းသာရှင်ဘုရားလည်းပဲကျမ်းမာရေးကောင်းအရွယ်ကောင်းပေါ့လေဒီကာမဂုဏ်ချမ်းသာတွေလက်လွတ်ပြီးတော့ဘာဖြစ်လို့ယဟန်ဘဝကိုခံယူရပါသလဲတဲ့ဒီလိုတယောက်တည်းပြင်းစရာကောင်းအောင်ပါနေရတာပေါ့လေဘာများအတိတ်ပဲရှိသလဲလို့ဒီလိုမေးပါတယ်
In this connection, Sayadaw would like to tell a little story from the scriptures, which may prove to be instructive and inspiring. During the time of the Buddha, there was a bhikkhu by the name of Ratthapala. He was a young man who had come from a wealthy family, was young and robust in the prime of his youth. And even when he was still leading the lay life, he had the opportunity to enjoy himself in various and a wide variety of sensual pleasures. He was wealthy, he had many friends and relatives, and the opportunity to fully indulge himself in all possible sensual pleasures was always there. But he left the world, renounced the world, and became a monk. One day, a king was riding in the forest, and he came across this bhikkhu, this monk, and he approached him and stood respectfully at one side and asked him some questions. He said, "Venerable Sir, you look very young and robust. You are at the prime of your youth. Why do you leave the household life? You come from a wealthy family, and you have lots of opportunities to enjoy all types of sensual pleasures available. Why did you leave home and take up the robes, lead this life of solitude, don't you feel lonesome? Isn't it boring to stay by yourself?
အဲ့ဒီလိုဘုရင်ကမေးတော့ရှင်ရထလာပါဠမထေရဗုဒ္ဓကတဲ့ဓမ္မုဒ္ဒေသတရား၄ပါးဟောကြားထားတယ်တဲ့တရားရည်ညွှန်းချက်ကြီး၄မျိုးပေါ့လေအဲ့ဒီဓမ္မုဒ္ဒေသတရား၄ပါးကိုအစဉ်အတိုင်းလေးလာနှလုံးသွင်းပြီးတဲ့အခါမှာတဝေကတွေအကြီးအကျယ်ဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ဒီလိုပြည့်စည်တတ်တဲ့ခန္ဓာကိုယ်ကြီးတွေကအနှစ်သာရဖြစ်တဲ့တရားတွေပေါ့လေအချိန်မီထုတ်ယူဖို့ရာအတွက်ပထမအရေးပဲအကောင်းဆုံးမို့လို့ဝိဟံဘဝကာမဂုဏ်ချမ်းသာတွေကိုစွန့်လွတ်ခဲ့ပြီးတော့ယဟန်ဘဝခံယူရတယ်ဆိုတဲ့အကြောင်းကျင့်ကြုတ်ဖြေပါတယ်
သမုဒ္ဒေသဆိုရယ်သမုဒ္ဒေသသမုဒ္ဒေသ
ပြောမယ်တခုချင်းပြောမယ်နော်
နော်အကျဉ်းစားနေသူတို့နားလည်အောင်သမုဒ္ဒေသဆိုလို့ရှိရင်သူတို့ပါဠိလိုမတတ်ပါဘူး
တရားရည်ညွှန်းချက်ပေါ့
ရည်ညွှ
န်းချက်ပေါ့
ဥဒိစ္စ
ချင်းရည်ညွှန်းချက်ပေါ့တဝကဖြည့်ရေးအတွက်ရည်ညွှန်းတာပေါ့
The Venerable Ratapala replied, "O great king, the Buddha, when he talked about the four great samudesas, Dhammudesa, which is the discourse that leads to the arousing of spiritual urgency. When the Buddha was giving that discourse, I listened to it and reflected on the points made in the discourse. I was seized by a great sense of urgency, and it is on account of this great desire to extract the essence from this body of mind, to extract the optimum utility from this body of mind in time before I die, so that I can penetrate into the Dhamma, that I have left the worldly life to put on the robes."
အချိန်မီနှစ်သာရထုတ်ရေးအတွက်တဝေကတရားတွေကိုနှုတ်ပေးတာတဝေကဉာဏ်ကြီးနှုတ်ပေးတဲ့တရားလို့ဒီလိုဆိုလိုပါတယ်
ကျန်တာပြောပြီ
ဟုတ်ပြီနော်အဲ့ဒီဓမ္မဒေသတရား၄ပါးဆိုတာကဥပနိယတိလောကောအတုဝောတဲ့လောကောသူယောကိုပါတတ္တဝါပေါင်းသည်အတုဝောဖြစ်ပေါ်ပြီးတော့ပြည့်သွားတာမဟုတ်လို့မတိရမခိုင်မြဲသည်ဖြစ်၍ဥပနိယတိအိုခြင်းနာခြင်းတည်ခြင်းတို့ဆောင်ပုတ်ခံရ၏တဲ့ရထားတဲ့ယုံနာခန္ဓာတွေဟာဒီတိုင်းတီးနေတာမဟုတ်ဘူးလူတိုင်းကတော့ပြိုခြင်းကြတယ်အိုးလာတာဘာမှမတတ်နိုင်ဘူးလူတိုင်းကမာခြင်းကြတယ်ကြားမာခြင်းကြတယ်နားလာတာပဲယောဂမျိုးတွေဖြစ်လာတာပဲလူတိုင်းဟာကိုယ်မိသားစုနဲ့ပျော်ပျော်ရွှင်ရွှင်အသက်ရှင်ပြီးတော့နေခြင်းကြတယ်ဒါပေမဲ့လို့အကြောင်းတစ်ခုကြောင့်သိရတာပဲဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲဆိုတော့ဥရဏတာတည်တတ်တဲ့ဓာတ်တွေကခန္ဓာကိုယ်ထဲမှာအပြည့်ပါလာတာအမြဲမပြတ်ဖြစ်ပြီးတော့အမြဲပြတ်ပြက်နေတာမြင်ပြီးတော့ပျောက်သွားကြားပြီးတော့ပျောက်သွားစသည်ပေါ့လေဘာမှတည်တတ်ခံမြဲခြင်းမရှိဘူးတနေ့တနေ့အိုးနေတာတနေ့လည်းပဲကျမ်းမာရေးတွေချိုးတက်နေတာအဲနောက်ဆုံးသိရမှာပဲတည်တတ်ခံမြဲခြင်းမရှိတဲ့အတွက်အိုနာသိခြင်းအဲ့ဒီသုံးမျိုးသူမောင်းအဖို့ခံနေရတယ်တဲ့အမှန်ကြောက်စရာကောင်းတဲ့တရားတွေလို့ဆိုတာပေါ့
ပထမI'd like to elaborate a bit on this four dhammas that leads to the arousing of a great spiritual urgency. The first one is the fact that the whole world of beings is made up of nothing but mind and matter which has arisen and which does not stay. It does not remain still for one single moment. It is in a constant state of flux, of rising and passing away. And once we find ourselves in this body and mind, there is nothing that one can do to prevent growth from taking place. Of course, you would like to grow when you are young, but when you are old, you cannot prevent old age from happening. The growing process is irreversible. Although all of us would like to be healthy, our wishes can never be fulfilled. We are plagued by sickness and illness, plagued by pains and discomfort in the body throughout our existence. Though we may like to live an immortal life, that too is beyond our reach. Contrary to our wish, all of us will have to die one day. It is a matter of sooner or later. Therefore, this whole world of beings is constantly being driven by growth, decay, by illness and sickness, by death.
Piu jimelu olara, majimelu nanira, shinjimelu tinira, erari atwe. Peruama taumakhanaimu. Tiari atwe. Amakhamare sura amakhame pogo guti tuuma bodebu. Piu lure pogoria ola reka piu no lojarabe. Damimalu danayu. Nani rekama leve ma on subito chama on subito lojarabe. Ate leve shinjarabe, the chuleve tibida pogora ma ate piantu ate pianwu juza jare so bare. Good here, Bruma, Amam can I do. Amaganya see it do it. Dihari Lunchuan, so shout the Poco, Mashi, Adano logo, Nabi the Rosa. That do dear the moody that they are.
Atano loco?
Atano logo, Anabi solo.
Though we may wish to grow young, but we keep on growing older. And though we may wish to be healthy, we keep falling sick. And though we wish to lead an immortal life, we cannot help but succumb to death. There is not one single person on this earth who can guarantee that any of your wishes regarding growth, sickness and death can ever be fulfilled. In spite of that, people live in a world of illusion. People refuse to accept this fact. And even people who have grown old still try to look young. There are various means and various contraptions can be used to try to appear to look young. But nature cannot be deceived. We get sick, and there are times that, and there are many potent drugs and medicines available. We resort to medicine and we get well again. But there is no guarantee that you will be healthy for the rest of your life. Again and again, you fall sick, you recover, and you get ill again. It is obvious also that death is something which no one can escape once we are endowed with this body and mind. But still, people are very stubborn. There is even talk that scientists are trying to revive dead people. And therefore, it is said that in this world of beings, there is no security, there is no insurance. Nobody can ensure that you can be prevented from growing old, from getting sick, or from dying.
That's what I need to be. Woman, I'm a dear on Amakan Machida. Kugoya many de Dilosolore. A good tea. Amiazu Tatawari ha Kugoya many da chiba. Kuku and go away chivalina. Allow tea Kugoya many the restaurant.
This is the main weakness of beings. Beings are devoid of security. They are devoid of a safe refuge. There is no way that they can prevent themselves from growing old, from getting sick, from dying. Look at other beings, look at animals, and most of all, look at yourself.
The Gadiari Adolo, the Kanaji, the Biadepiani Dalidi, Tweetwater Kajama, the Diari ha, the Yidini, Aguzia Mude Diari, Edu Kom Nale Laluchi, the Gego, the Yuna Kanajiha, Aguya Medesura, Kubayane Gumilama, Aguro, Tawaganya body. Eddie same Yokin or Tawaganya, you are.
If you are making good progress in your meditation, if deep practice is going for you, this fact is not unfamiliar. If one is able to see with intuitive insight how mental and physical phenomenon arise from moment to moment without an end, one can appreciate the fact that there is no refuge, there is no security, there is nowhere that you can run to. But for those who are still rather infants in terms of insight, perhaps Sayadaw's talk may be able to arouse some degree of urgency, spiritual urgency, so that you can put in more effort in your practice.
Now so jealousy. Kubayusa Sura Bama Mashu Unati Tukabidi Makina Boguriha, Attention no Kalama. The Muajam Pinari Tinjavida Pisidi, Shawilo Boli, Sauni Pileni, Chulevetro Pile to a Chandare. Tabimelu Kubayusa Sura Mashibabu. Kurai Shawidalu Amiaga Boli. The PC to buy needle so we melo. A chow alios were Pessi Dalusi, Mapaina Rishida. The mamma whom a day can level Mapaina Shide. Me long look Pessi Dora Shide. ပြီးတော့နိုင်တဲ့စီးနေပေါ့လေပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တစုကပြုလုပ်လို့ပျက်စီးသွားတာလည်းရှိတယ်ကိုယ်ပိုင်ဥစ္စာဆိုတာဘာမှမရှိဘူးတည်တဲ့အခါဆိုလို့ရှိရင်လည်းပဲဘာမှမရှိဘူးတည်တဲ့အခါဒါလည်းပဲတတ္တဝါတွေအားနည်းချက်တစ်မျိုးပဲအဲ့ဒါအစကောလောကောစဗ္ဗံပါဟယကမဏီယတဲ့လောကောသူရောကိုယ်ပါတတ္တဝါပေါင်းသည်အစကောကိုယ်ပိုင်ဥစ္စာဆိုတာဘာမှမရှိတဲ့တဗ္ဗံပါဟယကမဏီယအသက်ရှင်စေကာလမှာရှာဖွေထားတဲ့ရုပ်ထုပစ္စည်းတွေပေါ့ဒီဆွေတွေမျိုးတွေအကုန်လုံးစွန့်ပြီးတော့သွားရမှာကြီးပဲတဲ့အဲ့ဒါတတ္တိယဓမ္မုဒ္ဒိတာတရားပါပဲ
The third important point is that this whole world of beings is devoid of possessions. This may sound very strange to you. We may try to procure knowledge from a very young age, go to school, go to college and university, and get your credentials. You work very hard, you earn a lot of money. You buy many items, and all of these you call your possession. Conventionally, of course, we cannot deny that these belong to you, rightfully and legally. But they don't really belong to you. If they really do, you will never be separated from them. But you are. Sometimes some of your items get lost. Sometimes other people rob you. Sometimes they become destroyed or ruined through various circumstances. And most of all, when you die, there is nothing that you can take with you. Everything that you had gained and amassed and stored and hoarded is left behind. There is not a single thing that you can take with you. Not your possessions, not your credentials, not your loved ones, not your relatives. And therefore it is said, all beings are possessionless. They are devoid of possession. When they leave this world, they go having given up everything, having left behind every single thing. This again is another major weakness of beings.
ဘာမှယူလို့မရဘူးလားလို့ဆိုတော့ယူလို့ရတဲ့ဟာတွေတော့ရှိပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီယူလို့ရတဲ့ဥစ္စာကတော့အနုကာမိကဥစ္စာလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်အနုကာမိကဥစ္စာဆိုတာမတည်ခင်ကာလမှာစေရနာတ္တတရားကောင်းကောင်းနဲ့တတ်နိုင်သမျှလှူဒန်းရတယ်ဆေးရုံတို့စာသင်ကျောင်းတို့ဗောလိတရားတွေလှူရတာပြီးတော့မိဘေးရေဘေးတင့်တဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေဒီလိုလှူရတာကူညီရတာပြီးတော့မိသားစုစိတ်ကောင်းနှလုံးကောင်းနဲ့ဗောလေထောက်ပံ့ရတာဆွေတွေမျိုးတွေထောက်ပံ့ရတာဗောလေဆင်းရဲတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေထောက်ပံ့ရတာကိုချင်းသီလတွေပြည့်စုံတာတရားမှတစ်ဆင့်ဆက်ပြီးတော့စိတ်ဓာတ်တွေတိုးမြှင့်ပေးတာမာရိဘာဝနာအားထုတ်တာပြီးတော့ယုံနာပိုက်ခြားသိမှုကအစဗောလေအမှန်တရားတွေကိုအစဉ်စဉ်သိမြင်ပြီးတော့နောက်ဆုံးအသိပညာထူးတွေဗောလေရတဲ့အထိဗောလေအဲ့ဒါလို့အားထုတ်လို့ရရှိထားတဲ့ဒါနစရှိတဲ့ကုသိုလ်တွေကတော့ကိုယ်နောက်ပါမှာအဲ့ဒါတွေကိုအနုဂါမိကဥစ္စာလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်ကိုယ်နဲ့မကွာထက်ချက်ပါတဲ့ဥစ္စာတဲ့လူသွားလို့ရှိရင်အရေးထားခဲ့လို့မရဘူးလူသွားတာနဲ့လူလှုပ်ရှားတာနဲ့ပဲအရေးကလည်းတခါတည်းပါသွားတာပဲအဲ့ဒါတော့စိတ်ချရတယ်
However, there are certain things that you can take with you when you die. These are things which will follow you wherever you are. And you cannot separate them even if you want to. There are things that you do while you're alive which are based on very noble motivations of benevolence, generosity, of kindness, loving care and compassion. You make donations to hospitals, to orphanages, to people who are suffering from certain calamities. You help to support members of your family, to support the aged, to support the handicapped, to support the underprivileged. You help to support your friends and those who are in need of help. You help to create a better society by maintaining purity of conduct, by taming your speech and moral actions. You help to bring about a peaceful environment as you strive to meditate and to tame those obsessive defilements that arise within your heart. And as you make progress in your meditation, going through the various stages of insight and eventually realizing the ultimate goal, that too is one of those things that will follow you. So all these meritorious deeds of dana, of giving, of sila, morality, and of bhavana, mental development, meditation, all these wholesome activities, wholesome karma, will follow you upon your death, just like a shadow follows a person wherever he goes.
Anugamika dana anugamika ussa so lo acha ussa ri le be lu de ma shi pare. Buddha phit pho bhong ya pyo ba aw me. Edi ussa ri ya do acha ma ba bu Theravada ussa Theravada dana so shi pare. Da ri ya ti ran khai mye de ပစ္စည်းတွေပေါ့လေမှာရွှေ့လို့ပြောင်းလို့မရနိုင်တဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေပေါ့မြေယာတို့လယ်ယာတို့တိုက်တာအဆောက်အဦတွေအစသည်ပေါ့လေဒါမျိုးတွေဇင်ကမဥစ္စာဆိုတာကတော့ရွှေ့လို့ပြောင်းလို့ရတဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေပေါ့လေကိုယ်ပိုင်တဲ့ပစ္စည်းတွေအိမ်သုံးပစ္စည်းတွေဘာတွေညာတွေအကုန်လုံးအစုံပေါ့ဒါလူတွေမှာရှိရပါတယ်ထာဝရဥစ္စာလည်းရှိရပါတယ်ဇင်ကမဥစ္စာလည်းရှိရပါတယ်ပြီးတော့အင်္ဂသမဥစ္စာဆိုတာကအင်္ဂါခြေလက်နဲ့တူတဲ့အတ္တပညာအမျိုးမျိုးတွေပေါ့လေအခုကာလလူတွေတတ်တင်တတ်တဲ့အတ္တပညာတွေပေါ့ဝိဇာတတ်တုသိပ္ပတတ်တုလက်မှုတတ်တုစက်မှုတတ်တုစုံနေတာပါပဲလူမှာလက်ချီအင်္ဂါစုံနေလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီစုံနေတဲ့အင်္ဂါကိုသူ့နေရာနဲ့သူအသုံးချလို့ရတယ်လက်ချီအင်္ဂါပြတ်နေပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တော့အသုံးပြုစရာမရှိတော့ခက်တာပေါ့ဒီတော့အင်္ဂါစုံရတယ်ဒါလိုပဲလူရဲလို့ဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အတ္တပညာကတော့တတ်တင်တတ်တဲ့ဟာတတ်ရတယ်ဒီမှာအဲ့ဒါအင်္ဂသမဥစ္စာခေါ်တယ်လက်ချီအင်္ဂါနဲ့တူတဲ့ဥစ္စာတွေတဲ့အဲ့ဒါကတော့အသက်ရှင်စေကာလမှာအသုံးကျပါတယ်ရှင်စေကာလမှာတော့မှစိတ်မချသေးပါဘူးတတ်ပညာတွေဘယ်လောက်ပဲတတ်ထားအိုးမစွမ်းဖြစ်တဲ့ခါကျတော့မေ့သွားတာပဲယူနှံသွားတာပဲဆရာအာနာပိုင်ကြီးကဒီတတ်ပညာအသုံးမချဘူးလို့တားမြစ်ထားလို့ရှိရင်လည်းဒီတတ်ပညာအသုံးမဝင်ဘူးတည်တဲ့ခါမှသာမဟုတ်ဘူးအသက်ရှင်စေကာလမှာလည်းပဲအာကိုရတာတွေမဟုတ်ဘူးအကုန်လုံးဒါတွေဟာကိုယ်ပဲဥစ္စာဘာမှမဟုတ်ဘူးအကုန်လုံးထားကြရမှာအဲ့ဒါတွေယူလို့ရတဲ့ဟာကတော့ Nukamika outside Kuba.
Since we are on the subject of property, Sayadaw would like to talk about 3 other types of property which, in contrast to the previous one, which will follow you like a shadow, cannot be taken with you when you die. And these are none other than immovable property. You have buildings, or land, estate, and so forth. They may be property, maybe your property conventionally, but they will be left behind on your death. Then we have also movable property, things that you can take with you as you travel around during your existence on this earth, on this planet. The third type of property is knowledge. These are things which you accumulate from a very young age. You take up various arts and sciences, learn up certain skills and technology, so that you become a skilled person, and you make a living out of that to support yourself, to support your family, and to do other things that you want to do. As long as we have this body with its parts in good working order, this third type of property, the property of knowledge, is very essential. However, again, it is not a guarantee. It is not insured. You may go through life having been accomplished in a certain skill, but due to certain circumstances, you may find yourself unable to practice. Maybe the government has certainly declared that such a practice will not be suitable, it's banned, or you find yourself involved in an accident. If you're a surgeon, you find that you have fractured your arm and it becomes impossible for you to continue your practice. You may meet with various mishaps during your life. Who knows, you may become too neurotic to be able to do any sort of practice at all. And so these things are not even any form of security at all during this existence on earth. Not to mention the afterlife. All these things, all these 3 types of properties shall have to be left behind when one expires.
ဒီလိုသဘောမပေါက်သေးတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များတော့ကာမဂုဏ်အာယုန်နေတဲ့မှာတစ်မျိုးပြီးတစ်မျိုးပေါ့လေအကောင်းတွေကိုလူကျင်ကြတယ်ရတာလေးနဲ့လည်းပဲမတင်းတိမ်နိုင်ဘူးအပိုမူတွေလည်းပဲဒီလိုပဲရှာဖွေကြတယ်လိုအပ်တာလည်းမဟုတ်ဘူးပြီးတော့မတင်းတိမ်နိုင်တော့ဘာဖြစ်တယ်လို့ဆိုတော့အမြဲတမ်းလိုနေတာပဲဥနောလောကောအတ္တိတောတဏှာတာသောဆိုတာလောကောသူယောကိုယ်ပါတတ္တဝါပေါင်းသည်အတ္တိတောရသမျှလူအပ်သမျှလေးနဲ့မတင်းတိမ်မရောက်ရဲနိုင်သည်ဖြစ်၍ဥနောအမြဲတမ်းလိုနေတယ်တဲ့တောင်းနဲ့ရေခတ်တယ်လို့ပေါ့လေချင်းတောင်းနဲ့ရေခတ်တယ်လို့ပေါ့ဘယ်ရေပါလိမ့်မလဲအဲ့လိုဖြစ်နေတယ်မရောက်ရဲနိုင်ဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အမြဲတမ်းလိုနေတာပဲလိုနေတော့အဲ့ဒီလိုတဲ့ဟာကိုဖြည့်လို့တဲ့တဏှာပေါ်တာပဲနည်းနည်းလိုနည်းနည်းဖြည့်တာပဲများများလိုများများဖြည့်တာပဲဒီတော့မရောက်ရဲနိုင်တော့လူဓာရီဖြည့်လို့တဲ့တဏှာပေါ်နေတော့အဲ့ဒီတဏှာရဲ့ကျုံအမြဲတမ်းခံနေရတာပဲ Be and it order my body. Abu Echa level, Dale Bama to Namu. Did not a nudge of Yelam Senida, that warrior. Era Tanada, the Tanaj, Junjive, Tanaj of Chica, Malota Miaro. Be ni never Chanda Madrid nine. Era now so. Slow time Yopoli, the Modi that Kuba.
Uno mula.
Uno loco attitude Tanada.
Oh, Tanada. If we are unable to understand this, understand that nothing really belongs to us, that everything is transcendent, and that we have to leave all these so-called property behind when we die, then we begin to indulge ourselves in the world of sensual pleasures. There is a constant seeking, a hankering after one sort of sensual pleasure after another. Nothing is quite enough. Desire is unsatiable. The more you want, the more unsatisfied you become. And we go through this very vicious cycle of wanting to quench your thirst and craving and getting more thirsty. Therefore, it is said that all beings have desires which are unsatiable. They are unable to be contented, and therefore they are the slaves of craving. Indeed, one is a slave of craving, and one is unable to cut desires. For as we desire something and we get it, we find that all is not as satisfying as we thought it is, and we try something else. And so it goes on and on and on without an end. How ignoble it is to be a slave. And yet, all of us are slaves of craving.
Yow yere the boha ti kaung ne dua Santuti Paramandana Surara Yow Yejin ha Amyaso PC Diana Bade Vido to show Vido Basket maker Jolin in the Pioviati. The same that you ha Chino Yabido at the Mumunida. The other Malina Dindina. Tu Lunga Quema level the chin lady George on the easily to a chanta than it. Nya level chanta that air. Bama level the Kodi Vadim Jawa. The tea dioga do the Nara name Holu, Mutia Maza, Mutia Biro. Tu Delia le Malone alone, so Ningutia, Lonjo, Tainto Musara, Malo. Mutia, when etching as I read, Dini, Mutia Pedumia la Yumale Sadi Wally Bubayara Bubayara do Lunga Quema, the Chene Masona no with Yalam, ain't I know with it. So Mutia Yokias, deep chanta than near the Chene the George on Elevaco air. Dingwe when etching as I read on Chanda di Piotwara. Dingwe Macom so with a body. Mutia you read at the TG Pia Ade. A TG Chino Chandari Piambi Babia, Lusure, the TG Maza Tari Mutia, Pia you are all Lusure. The Duboalina do the Chanda, Yoveda, I'm not going there. Do I be Diana so that Yoveda take on her? Yoye Lily, Povida Chanda Lily, do not your Macaya Lily.
To Valolo
Baskets maker.
Basket maker. desire of ours, which is insatiable, can be likened to a mosquito net. Or rather, one of those butterfly nets, something you use to catch butterflies. You try to use a butterfly net to scoop up some water. To scoop up some water, and you will find that you don't get much. So it's the same with our desires. We use the desire to try to satisfy the desire. And it goes on and on and on. No matter how many scoops you make, you'll never get much water anyway. To illustrate the importance of contentment, Sayadaw would like to tell a story. But before that, it might be interesting for you to know that the Lord Buddha himself praised contentment as the greatest wealth. The story is about a man who works as a basket maker. He was a very simple man, and he enjoyed weaving his baskets. He was very happy through the day, and as he weaved his basket, he would whistle and sing and pass the day very happily. He was a very carefree person. And at night, he would retire to his little hut and sleep very happily and soundly. One day, there was a very wealthy man who chanced to pass by and see this poor, wretched basket weaver. He was so filled with compassion for him that he gave him $100 and said, "Hey, why don't you take this, go enjoy yourself." And so the basket weaver took it with much appreciation. He took it home, and with $100, he's never seen $100 in his life. Took it back to his tent, or to his little hut, his ramshackle hut, and he was wondering where to keep it. It didn't look like a very secure place. It certainly wasn't a safe. And if I put it in that corner, what happens if somebody comes, at night, a robber? A thief might come, or the rats might eat it. And so he was spending this whole night thinking about what to do with the money to keep it safe and secure. And he lost all his happiness. He was so sleepless, and he was turning from side to side, so anxious about that $100 that he's got somewhere in the corner of his hut. And the next day he went to work. He took the $100 with him. And he no longer whistled. He couldn't sing. He kept thinking about the money whole day long. How to keep it secure. How to keep away the thieves. How to fool the robbers. He brought it home, and he spent another sleepless night. After some time, it was too much. He took the $100 and he went to the wealthy person, to the wealthy man, and he said to him, "Give me back my happiness." And he returned him the $100.
Di lo pyo de atwe Buddhaတရားတော်ကလူတွေချင်းအောင်လုပ်တာတော့မဟုတ်ပါဘူးအသက်ရှင်စေကာလမှာတော့စောစောပိုင်းကပြောခဲ့တဲ့သာဝရပစ္စည်း Singama BC and Engadama BC, the other symbol, the Shafuiva. Tamalu, a poor Mori Yao Josavida, the Najun Kari Hamuro, Daro Macom, the Najun Karuchi, Senior Mao, Yoyeluchi, Chanda, Suraboli, Yoye, Nabuya, Tiababe.
Well, it's not that Buddhism is discouraging you from seeking knowledge, from working hard to earn your money so that you can support yourself and your family and your friends and contribute to worthy organizations and institutions. No, by all means, you should make use of your life and your intelligence, your industry, and get all these things through legal and honest means. But the message is not to try to be too greedy and become a slave of craving. The point is to be contented with the little that you have.
Edilo Ratabala Matiga Bayengo body. The moody that they are liver at a tritava, at a tritami to it. You a condonga Yambo can you read up? Piesita de Kanaguji, Nitara, Chimney, told you, boya. Chimney body, Yabuya, Jusa, as a jump, Pishin Piavade. Edita Gali, Tabido, who you do it, who you do the Garamada relay. Piesita de Kanaguji, Baba Majabu, Toya, Pilaya of Mabe. Piesita de Kanaguji, Chimney body, Iladamari Pena, Nitara body. Told me, a dwell body. She don't let say so that I want to choose a Tujabu and Joe. Though we got Pisia, Livoli Ponia, dead to meet a pure, a ching a chat of Tojabas.
So the Venerable Ratapala was referring to this discourse on these 4 types of dhammas that brings about spiritual urgency. He reflected on these 4 things that the Buddha talked about, and he was filled with a great sense of spiritual urgency, of wanting to strive for the Dhamma so that he could make optimum use of the body that he had. In the same way, Sada hoped that all of you will be able to get some inspiration from the talk tonight and learn not to be considerately attached to your body or to life, but to strive on with courageous effort, with heroic effort in your meditation, so that you too will be able to extract this optimum utility from your body in time, right now, when you're still young and robust, when you're still healthy, before you have to discard of this useless body. There is a little correction about last night's talk. There was this story of the person who came to see the Sayadaw one day, and who was very learned in the Buddhist scriptures, and had done some practice, and was actually a striving meditation teacher. He had come to the Yekta, the meditation center, to be a yogi. And as Sayadaw said, it was his practice to instruct yogis on the essentials of meditation practice, and tallying that with scriptural references. And so the Sayadaw used to recite the Pali verses or Pali statements from the scriptures and would explain them to the yogi so that all apparent differences between practice and theory could be reconciled. Now at that point, when the Sayadaw was making all those Pali recitations, this gentleman was trying to be a wise guy. He was trying to be a smart aleck. He was giving his interpretations of the Pali recitations that the Sayadaw was making, and he was trying to demonstrate his learning by giving the references. Oh, that Pali came from such and such a text, and so forth. And it was because of this attitude that the Sayadaw tried to prevent him from interfering in what was not his job, since he came in as a student rather than a teacher. And you heard the rest of the story yesterday.